that you aren't just responsible for yourself, but for the society too.
Hello everyone, welcome to the third episode of Business Bacardi. The agenda we'll be discussing today is the rising fuel prices in our country. As you may have seen in recent news that diesel prices have been raising their bar even above petrol in these days, but understanding an overall scenario that why it has happened, though we do know that COVID is a major reason that has been causing that. But before that, I would like to pinpoint and list down a few points that are very essential for you to understand. This is something which needs to be known by every Indian out there, that why it has been actually happening. Coming to the first point, we should realize this fact that crude oil isn't the end product. It is an intermediary that requires a lot of additional refining through which we get petrol or diesel. You need to pump crude into the processing facility hoping that it will become a consumable product. And this is the key distinction between crude oil and petrol and diesel. know, the price of the end product can vary depending on the complexity that will be involved in processing that crude oil, right? Processing petrol is difficult from crude, but processing diesel is much easier from crude. You know, considering diesel, it is heavier, less volatile, and easier to refine compared to petrol. That is the reason that the prices of diesel have been low as compared to petrol all this time, right? So, as a consequence of which, diesel tends to be cheaper when it is compared to petrol. But diesel prices trade at much steeper discount because of the tax structure that is involved. Diesel is being used in industries, in farmlands, in generators, in trucks, and all these places. It was made available, it was, priced at a lower level so that it can be used in bulk. It can be used in mass production. So this is the single reason that the diesel hasn't been taxed so much. As a consequence, diesel remained more affordable. And but that trend of diesel being cheaper has been seeing a downturn. It has been reversing. We are seeing the fact that diesel is becoming more and more expensive day by day. Petrol somewhere down the line stands at same prices, but diesel has been getting more and more expensive. As comparison, as we might have heard in news that on June 21st, 24th, diesel was sold at a higher price than petrol. Even though this transaction or this economic activity just happened in Delhi NCR region, but still a major consideration needs to be taken into account on why this had been happening. So before understanding why Delhi government did that, we should take into consideration what role did these oil marketing companies had to play. Taking into example Indian Oil Corporation, right? Petrol consumption since April dived 60% low. Diesel was 55% low. But their the fixed costs that were being borne by these organizations remained the same. They had to pay their salaries, they had to run their factories and spend money, even if the consumer wasn't buying the fuel. But these OMCs, they played smart. You know, After March 16th, they stopped revising their prices because they had seen a time coming that yes, prices will fall, consumption will be falling as the nation was heading to a lockdown. So on March 16th, these companies decided that there won't be no more price revision, as the prices of these commodities or these oil or fuel had been changing daily. Revisions were happening daily despite crude oil prices breaching $0. In fact, even negative. In April, Indian customers did not get to buy fuel at lower prices. We did not get any benefit out of it, even though crude oil was being sold at $0. But bear in mind, excise isn't like your ordinary tax. Consumers didn't get to pay it. Instead, it was levied on the producers and the sellers. These oil marketing companies still had to pay excise tax. And government in this duration increased the prices of excise. So these oil marketing companies had to make a choice. In no sense I will say that yes, they were wrong in any way out there, because they had to keep in mind that either they bear the excise themselves or they pass it on to the consumers. Ideally, what oil marketing companies would have done is that they would have just passed on by hiking the prices, because the government was levying more excise from them in this duration while they were having no sale at all. But this situation, when crude oil is standing at $0 and you're increasing the prices of fuel in India, despite the consumer knowing that crude oil is being sold for negative amount, this would have created a lot of havoc all over India. But even after this, the government increased the excise by 10 rupee per liter on petrol and 13 rupee per liter on diesel. Though it isn't a nice look, but what OMCs did was they stood tall and refused to revise the prices. They took a hit on their margins and they made peace with it. Because these oil marketing companies are also primarily owned by the government, so they couldn't increase prices just by themselves. And it has been happening for some time now. The tax structure that's reducing the price differential between petrol and diesel, and you know why it has been happening. And you should also take into fact that state governments, due to this COVID situation, have been spending a lot more than previous times on the relief benefits that have been happening. And even the state governments make money out of oil. You know, they make money by selling petrol and diesel. And in order to benefit themselves with more cash and serve you people better, even they had to make a choice that by increasing taxes on petrol and diesel. Now, unlike excise, the VAT, that is the value added tax, it is borne by the end consumer, you know. So this was the reason that between March 16th and June 6th, the prices that you saw, even though they were at negative or $0, we didn't get to see or benefit from this. You know, after June 6th, as I mentioned, that there was a lock on prices from March 16 and June 6th. But what these OMCs did was, after June 6th, when they saw that situation, yes, the situation was getting better and better. So they finally decided that this was the time that they could revise their prices. And by this time, the crude oil prices had already started firming up. So they were increasing, they weren't in a negative figure. These all the oil producing nations, as we see Gulf or Russia, they had to cut their output. and the excess supply was being mopped up. So, and now these OMCs had to start buying crude oil at higher prices. Their margins evaporated rather quickly. You know, these organizations were selling petrol and diesel below cost. They were making loss on all the units that had been sold. So they had no choice but to start revising prices now. And truth be told, they probably keep doing this until they can profit on every liter all of petrol that has been sold. Now, taking into account that who has to be blamed here, and if the government should roll back these tax hikes, after all the tax component on fuel can be as high as 70%. But in doing so, you have to first understand how we got here. You know, it is very incumbent on you to promise your argument after fully understanding the mechanics of pricing fuel, right? And I hope that this discussion on fuel and oil marketing companies and why this major trend has been happening, if it was any fruitful to you, I would really request you to share this video as much as possible, subscribe to the channel, and stay connected for more informative lessons on economy or business and stay updated to the current news. Just knowing the figure on why the price of fuel or oil has been hiking, but not understanding the algorithm behind it is of no use. So stay connected and stay healthy. Thank you.